we are a public venue, and so we're, part of our thinking is we're here to help the public in serving their needs if they need a venue. So that's just something to think about how we want to price. We don't necessarily have to price for the based on market, but we can think about other things if we have another goal in mind.
Alex, that goes back to what we discussed maybe 2 meetings ago about having kind of, I hate the mission statement phrase, but I don't have a better one, but having, an overarching mission statement for the park, because then that would maybe help, you always come back to that as your sort of starting place, and that would direct us as to whether profit, revenue, overall use of the park, what is our big goal, overall. And I don't know, I just think we should revisit that at some point.
Well, I'd like to suggest 2 things. One, I heard a council member say 2 hours ago that in moving away from the current landscaper there into somebody more sophisticated and probably more expensive, they will be looking at our ability, or the park's ability, to have sufficient revenue to pay for some or all of that. So I think that's something we have to keep in mind. Of course, we are also in the business to support Atherton residents as well as make money from other people as well. Secondly, I'd be interested in a community report from Casey. That is, what do other people charge for venues like this? What do they charge for inside? What do they charge for outside? Because that seems to me to meet right with your point. We should not be at the high end. We should probably maximize use of the park, particularly by our own residents. But I'd sure like to know what the marketplace study is. So I would ask her to come maybe 2 months from now, soon enough, so that she's had another experience, but so she could give us some community information too.
Yeah, I think when they did the pricing 4 or 5 years ago, they did a price comparison. Although in some ways it's very hard to compare venue to venue, but yeah, we'll do the best match that we can.
Well, okay.
And no 2 venues are kind of the same. It's just it can be difficult, but we'll try to do the best.
Yeah, my other concern or question to bring up too with the catering company does have a vested interest in getting events that are catered. And part of the report and check-in is to make sure that we're not turning people away who aren't using the catering company, as well as the other part of the report coming back is how the Parks and Rec team can help the catering company and the park get more bookings so that it is a win-win for everyone. The venues are being used, everyone's happy, the catering company's making money, and our residents of Atherton have fair and equal use to these events when they need to do it as well. So right now bookings are low. COVID has been a funny year for bookings, of course. So I would lean maybe towards going to too much information right now is going to be better. Maybe a quarterly report from Casey. That would be every 3 months. And then if we think that it's too much, we can move it out to maybe every 6 months. But I think they're going to need our help, and we're going to want, to help them be successful as well going forward. So I would like to say that we can do a quarterly update with them, as well as a monthly, of course, update with just the general bookings, and that's the report that we get already. So any more comments or commentary?
This is Frank. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
This is Frank. My question is, my understanding that the catering company has full authority above 50 people, but the parties that are less than 50 can hire their own catering company. Is that correct?
That's what I remember hearing. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But
I just want to make
was that changed?
No. Let me clarify. The catering company has an exclusive.
Yeah.
Right.
So they have the right to provide the catering for everyone who rents the park, unless someone wants to rent and have food that is a type of food, maybe Indian food or some other type of food that they don't provide, then somebody can use a different caterer.
Okay. Okay,
So it's not dependent on the number of people.
No,
Okay.
there is some limitation based on the park and parking. I don't recall if it's 150 or 200. I think it's 200, but I'm not certain.
Okay.
So it's
Oh,
my
I know.
understanding that if it's under 50 people, they're not the caterer.
Oh,
So
that's
there's
right.
a 50-person threshold. So 50 and
Okay.
under, you can choose your own caterer or not have a caterer.
Mhm.
But if it's over 50, they have to be the chosen caterer, except if it's a specialty food.
Yeah. And I think,
Okay.
I think it's important for us to see if, people are being declined, or if bookings aren't occurring because of that.
that was my question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's less than 50 people, then they don't get paid. Is that correct? I mean, all the money goes to the town.
Right.
Interesting.
So they only get paid, we're not giving them any money to work in the park. Like we were before, we gave a percentage of all the rentals, but in this case, they're only making the catering fee. We get all of the fee for the 50 and under, and also any event, we get the full fee.
Yeah,
Okay,
which is a big difference because we gave up 50% before.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's in their, I think it's also in their interest to book events because, I mean, they don't get paid if they don't book events.
Yeah, no, it's in their interest.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll check in with them once they get a little more settled. But in the meantime, if there's anything that comes across, Sally, that you hear from them that they need any help with, we can help out.
So since it's a quarterly report, it'll be sometime in the next couple of months, I assume we'll hear from them. Is that right, Sally?
Yes, and when would you like me to invite her to come? January or December?
Yes, sooner the better. Let's say December, if possible.
Okay.
Okay, we can move on to 6B. I put this on here to kind of move forward with the front gate. I know there's a bigger project overall. I noticed the Holbrook Palmer sign was there. Thank you, whoever put that there. From the exit gate, we were actually
Yeah.
missing a front. We were actually missing the sign to our park, and there was one on the exit, which someone moved over to the front. So thank you. Better already. I know that there's a larger project which we need to dig into about replacing the front gates. In general, we can start removing some of the old things. The gates don't work anymore. In fact, there's only half a gate left on the front entrance. Maybe slowly starting to add some projects just to remove the failing pieces and get it down to the bare bones, or just waiting for the overall replacement, which Rick, maybe you can refresh my memory on what that project is.
Sorry, say that again.
The front gate replacement. I know there was a larger project initiated maybe a year or two ago.
Well, the front gate in general is part of the circulation plan.
Okay.
When it had initially been proposed several years ago, there was a fairly comprehensive front gate replacement proposal. And that was rejected. And there is quite a bit of work in the front gate area with the current circulation plan.
Yeah.
As there is in the exit gate, but it sort of moved around. I don't think there had been an arbor in the previous iteration, but that's not part of this. Sally, can you give some clarification to that?
Yeah, there is not really a design or anything that has been done for the replacement of the front or exit gates.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be an alternative proposal from them.
Yeah, it's an
No.
alternative proposal because of the cost of the project is, we got to keep it in budget. So it is a design alternative. So
Right, it's a design
yeah.
alternative, but that's one of the things I think the committee needs to see.
Right.
So could I just ask, I'm sorry for clarification, who is doing a new gate design?
Yeah, Verde Design is
There's-
doing this whole circulation plan. And there's a few issues that are, in my mind anyway, not fully resolved. And the front gate and the exit gate are part of that. They're proposing, they've got a design that changes the whole entry. It makes a real sidewalk entry coming in, so it's safer. And that there's a curb that protects people on the walkway coming into the park from the automobiles. But exactly what they're doing with the front gate, and there is some change, like, there's that little concrete area as you come in the park immediately to the right, coming in the front gate. There's some design change around all of that, but I'm not really clear what they've got. And I think the gate is an alternative bid proposal, but I haven't seen what they're proposing.
It would be
Okay.
good to get a whole kind of summary of that situation and what is and isn't part of it. And Matt and I were talking about, what's the timing? Because in the meantime, the gate part of the front and back, the entrance and the exit could be removed now. They serve no purpose and they don't even operate. So that's one kind of easy thing that could be removed potentially.
Rick, can I confirm that the antique, non-functional, artistic original gate that's back on the inside of the exit area, that's not going to be removed, is it?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and to Frank's point, the only real purpose in both the front and the exit gate design that you see, not the actual original gate, which is now a wall, as you come in right in front of the.
No, as you exit.
Yeah, as you exit.
Yeah.
If you're looking from the exit in, there's a fencing that is the old gate. You have to really go up to it and look at it to know that, but it really is the original gate. And it acts as a wall going towards the entrance of the house. But the gate portion, Julia's right, there's no real functional value to the gate or at the entrance or the exit. The only real value is that their design is similar to what was the original gate. And that's why they've been retained for nostalgic reasons. They could be removed, but there's never been a decision to remove them. I think that the proposal that Verde Design is making for those is to update them and improve them, but I'm not exactly sure all of what they're proposing. So it's an appropriate request to have that come before us as soon as possible.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, as soon as I have design,
Glad to
or
know that.
if they're going to design it, I will bring it to the committee. There was no updates. I checked in with Verde and the project manager for the project. And there was nothing else to review at this time. But if they have a design for it in the future, I will bring it to the committee.
Okay. Well, I think that's a good general discussion of it for now. And then if we're looking at maybe a year or two away from fixing things, maybe we could do a little remodel in the meantime, maybe in a few months. Moving on to 6C, we're looking at maybe possibly new signage for the buildings, the front gate area, our style guides, and so forth. walking around the park, if you know the park, you know where the house is, you know where the Jennings Pavilion is, but the Jennings Pavilion sign is difficult to see. It's behind parked cars. The Merrill House, we wouldn't really know what it is. I don't think there's a sign on it anywhere. So, Julie and I were walking around today saying that the carriage house, needs to be, the carriage house sign is really decrepit, and maybe adding this to our yearly goals is to add some new signage to these buildings to give it a nice update. So any discussion on there? Everyone likes the signs the way they are?
No, I'm sorry, because you mentioned me. I hope that's clear that I completely support updating the signs.
I would have no issue with updating some of the signs at all. They are.
Are we looking at updating all the signs or just the building signs?
I was focused on the building signs because I think that would be the biggest impact for somebody coming into the park and looking around and trying to find their way around. I've only initiated projects to remove things. I've never initiated anything that would actually cost money. So
Yeah.
maybe Rick, maybe you can explain to me how, if we wanted to initiate new signage for these buildings, how we would move forward with that.
Well, I mean, you guys have proposed a standardization of signage in the park, which I think was a really excellent suggestion, and that staff has paid attention to.
Okay.
And there have been some changes because of that, right? I mean, the signage has improved, and we'll see further clarification and improvement once the temporary buildings move out and the staff offices have moved out, because there's a bunch of signs related to that.
Yeah.
In terms of, as in terms of signage for the buildings, I think it's perfectly appropriate for the committee to make a recommendation.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, and as specific as you can be, I think would be helpful.
Okay. Yeah, if we want wood carved signs, do we go out and find someone who makes wood carved signs and get a pricing proposal, or?
Well, I don't think you should jump on the pricing. I'd say suggest a design, and if there's a subcommittee that has specific, lettering and font or whatever, just similarly to what you did with the park signs.
Yeah.
That would be a good recommendation.
Okay, just type a proposal up and submit it. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I can add it to it. I can add it as an agenda item at the next meeting so that you can vote on it, or even just have a discussion, but it makes it so that it's something you can make a recommendation to staff.
Okay.
But Rick is right. As specific as you can get will help me to get pricing and see if we can fit it in the budget.
Okay.
If not, it could always be something that is put into the next year's budget, but it's good to get the details now so we know what to plan for.
Okay. Sounds good. And 6D, I was just brainstorming a bit on using the park more, and discussion of doing any workout classes in the park or in the carriage house. And I was wondering if anything like this has been done in the past, and if so, how do we do it?
My 7 years with Atherton, I haven't seen any free workout classes in the park. I would have to throw that to our city attorney.
Okay.
And the thing is it would have to be all volunteer based.
So we couldn't pay an instructor?
I mean, we might be able to.
Okay. I mean, I guess my first question is, would any of the other members of the Parks and Rec Committee endorse this idea? It's just an idea that I had, and I like the idea. So does anyone else have any strong feelings one way or another on that?
Well,
My view is that we should not have people using our inside facilities, which do require maintenance by the city, without payment. I mean, I've been to many things that have happened in Jennings and some in the main house. Everybody's paying for it, as far as I know. Outside is a different animal, so far as I'm concerned.
Well, only thing I would say is that if you want to compare apples to apples, the dog people rent the outside, do they not, Sally?
Yeah, so they rent the outside for their classes. They rent
So
the.
what you're telling me is just because you have
Yeah.
2 legs, you don't have to pay. But if you
Yeah.
have 4, you have to pay. Don't think it's gonna work.
Okay, so if you bring your dog to yoga, you can do.
You got
Downward dog, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Your dog
Well-
gets to participate free, but you have to pay.
Well, I don't think the dog people would appreciate that probably if they found that everybody was using it for free and they're paying money. I don't know. I'm just throwing that
Yeah.
out.
Well, in terms of fairness, I guess I'm looking at more of ways to get people engaged with the park who want to come in, do an outdoor yoga class, an outdoor Tai Chi class that's moderated, maybe in front of the house. If it was raining, then moving it into the carriage house would be probably the best option. And these are more of kind of invite people to the park. Use the park with other people, slowly get out of your COVID funk. Once a month that we're sponsored, I think the Parks and Rec would pay the teacher, $100, $200, and then anyone who wanted to come and join can come and join. That was the general idea that I had around it. If we want to make it completely free, that we can't even pay the teacher or anything, and it's just donation based or not. But I guess it really comes down to, can this be done? I don't want the town to be liable for anything, of course. And I guess that's where legal counsel comes in, Sally. So, or if someone said this is a terrible idea, and we don't want this to become a free park for people to do things like this, then I would say, okay. So,
Well, I agree with Frank. I think it'd be very difficult, given the dog people and other people that pay to come in there. As I recall, Sally's list has other people that are, quite good organizations, but they're paying to get into our park.
yeah, I could.
Currently, there's a yoga class on Sundays, but she pays a day use fee. That's outside. We have some workout classes that do sign up once in a while, especially during COVID. But I see, because a lot of towns do have a park and rec division where they offer a lot of classes.
Mhm.
Most of the time they have a small fee, but they do offer some free classes. So I see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
How much does the current yoga class instructor pay?
She just pays a day use fee, so it's less than $50 a class.
Yeah. So I guess this is where it's coming from, the Parks and Rec part, the recreation part,
Yeah.
how we can offer something to our town and to people who want to just come in and learn something new for free, sponsored by the Parks and Rec Department of Atherton. So,
It might not be a bad idea to have maybe a fuller list of park and rec activities that the people in the park could use. Atherton doesn't have a traditional park and rec program, but if there's enough resident interest, maybe we should start one with, whether it be these workout classes or something else. But yeah,
Well, the other thing to think about is that even though Matt and I discussed, other days and times, I mean, you could make this for the sort of traditional non-peak hours, during the day, and so that it's not going to turn into some big thing. But again, I think we need to revisit what is our goal? And yes, obviously, to Frank's point, fairness is key. If we're charging certain groups, then we need to be consistent. But this just goes back again to what is the overarching purpose of the park and what we're trying to accomplish. Is it revenue? Is it maximizing use of residents, non-residents, et cetera, et cetera?
How would you police that to make sure it just wasn't a group from Menlo Park or Redwood City that came in to use this when they found out it was free and nobody ever charged them for tearing up the grass or whatever you do when you do those things.
Well, I think the overarching idea would be that we have an instructor who is there offering a service. And of course, we have a lot of space. And let's just say it's an outdoor yoga class, for example, and 50 people show up. We're very capable of fitting 50 people in the park, and it's a minimal impact. Now, if we're doing, other things in the park, but our park is open for the public. It is a county park. It's not just an Atherton private park. So it's actually open for everybody to use and to enjoy.
I would say to prevent that, most park and rec programs, what they do is they charge non-residents more and residents much less, some subsidized amount. And we could end up charging nothing to very little for Atherton residents, and then the non-residents would pay full price what it costs to put it on. So
Yeah, I think that's an interesting way to approach it. I guess my overall goal is, doing a couple pilot programs and seeing how they go. And if we only have 12 people and they're all from out of our town, so be it. And eventually there'll be more, hopefully. And if not, then hey, we tried something new and different.
well, I was
to get more
expecting, Matt,
engagement.
that your idea would be wildly popular. So I was already thinking ahead.
Thank you so much. So, well, Sally, if you don't mind asking legal, Rick is our liaison here. If you don't have any issues with that, I would like to kind of see what else we can do with it. So,
A bit of historical perspective, and Rick, you
Yeah.
may or may not remember some of this. 30, 40 years ago, we had many classes run by the Atherton Arts Commission. We had classes run by the Garden Club. We had all sorts of classes out there. I don't believe there were ever any run directly through Park and Rec, but I could be wrong. But they all required, they all had a fee involved, and there was, in fact, I think in some cases there wasn't a slight increase in cost for non-residents, but there was quite an extensive group of classes at one point.
Much more extensive than there is now. There are art classes now.
I was just going to mention that. I've done them with Dorothy Hunter, and it's a suggested donation rather than a fee.
Yeah, that's right. And on lots of the rentals, there is pricing differential between residents and non-residents. I mean, I think that's something that you all could review when the pricing comes back with the new caterer. I know they're going to suggest new pricing in the next several months. So when that comes back, I think that's an appropriate thing to look at.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess my idea is really coming down to maybe rekindling some of what Frank saw in the past, which were classes done by private organizations, private instructors, to bring in people into the park. And maybe we can do some pilot programs to get people thinking that way again. So
yeah, so just to add color to Frank's comment, those classes largely occurred in what had been a private home and that was moved to the park and is now where the preschool is. So there was a period where they were very busy, then they slowed off, and the council sometime in the 90s made the decision to rent that facility for a preschool rather than to have the classes.
I see.
So you can have some classes outside, and we have lots of dog classes, and we have a couple other things. And I agree with you that the more we can encourage, the better. I think it's good use of the park. But at the time where there were really a lot of classes, it was because there was a facility that they could hold the classes in. And the only real facility we have where somebody could do that right now is the main house, and that's never been very attractive for that. At least it's never succeeded in being marketed for that. It's mostly used for weddings, and there are a few meetings that occur there. But the period that Frank is referring to is really in that facility that's now the preschool area.
I see.
Pavilion couldn't the pavilion be used for yoga classes again, off peak? And when we figure out all the fee stuff, I mean, that,
It's available and it can be rented, no question.
Yeah.
What about the library, the new library building, like the old town
Well,
center?
yeah, so there's a whole different, there's going to be different room availability in the new town center. I mean, we haven't even discussed rental of the council chamber facility, but that's going to be available. And the library is going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 conference rooms. They're not going to be rented. They're available for use, but they're small conference rooms. They're not, this isn't a big facility. What the historic town hall, where the library will do most of its programming, will be available for use. And we haven't worked out any kind of rental arrangement there, but I think the park will be much more of a rental area than the new town center.
Yeah, the areas I was thinking of were the carriage house, the front lawn of the main house, and then yeah, the pavilion would work well as an indoor situation as well. Being classes that are being sponsored by Atherton for users of the park, I guess we can address how it would be used and how it would be paid for. But these are also opportunities that we have as a park and rec committee to use our facilities to bring in people into the park. So if that means that we have to pay for it to use it, then that's so be it. But I'd love to keep pursuing this and seeing if there's something that the Parks and Rec crew can do that we can get some more engagement in the park. So
I just want to say one thing. So yeah, so if it's a town sponsored event, we wouldn't have to pay to use the facility, just like when we have town music events or any of the events that Francesca puts on for the town.
Yeah.
We would not pay to use the park or use any of the facilities. So if we decide to sponsor or have a teacher come in for $1,200 a year, we wouldn't have to pay to use the park if it's a town sponsored event.
yeah, and I guess that's my question. Does the Parks and Rec committee, can we recommend to do some town sponsored events? So however that goes down.
Okay.
Okay, again, I guess follow up with legal and then crew, if you guys think of some ideas on what that could be, and we can put a little, I can put a little proposal together and go from there. So. Okay, if there's no more discussion about that, we can move on to section 7, the foundation report. Frank? Mute, Frank. You're on mute.
Sorry,
okay.
Walt, I'll let you go ahead with the foundation report and I'll finish up with some comments at the end, okay?
Oh, sure. So we did meet on September 13th. And then again, last Monday. The main topic of discussion was the council meeting that occurred today, and the item on there, which I've alerted a couple of you to, about whether we would have a new landscaper. And there was one very persuasive and detailed document written by Jeremy Eisenberg for the foundation to the town council. I added one, and so did one of our other members on the board. And basically, the thrust of it was the investment that the foundation made, remembering that in the old days, or in earlier times, the Atherton Dames, which was made up of some women who gave extraordinary amounts of time and effort, raised a lot of money. We're talking several $100,000. It funded the bridge that you see, the pedestrian bridge going in, the water tower rehab, a lot of things. And one thing, the last thing that was done essentially was the event garden. And between $230,000 and $300,000 was spent, all of foundation money, and not only the foundation money, but supervised solely by the foundation, so that we get more for our money on the recommendation of the town government, that we would not be restricted by the certain types of labor you have to hire and things like that. It turned out to be a very complicated procedure, more than we thought. And in those days, you may remember, we actually got rain. And so they were building this during the middle of winter. Anyway, lots of money, lots of blood, sweat, and tears, all of which has been very disappointing to the foundation, the people who spent all this time and effort. One of our members says he can't even look at it at this point. He's so disappointed in the way that the event garden has deteriorated since we turned it over, foundation turned it over to the town. Today, one of the council members actually described how the maintenance at the park had been reduced because money was being conserved to do the town center when nobody realized quite how it'd be paid for. So in any case, lots of disappointment with the current landscaper, lots of need, and the three options proposed before the town council today were, of course, to provide landscape services for the town center, and the alternative was to include the park. So in any case, with great support from Rick and every other member, after hopefully seeing the park and reading our presentations, they adopted the option which will include a bid to go out that will include new maintenance for the park for the landscape. As Rick said earlier in the session, they may keep the same people to do the buildings and other things that are not really required where you need an expert landscaper. So that's what's going to happen now. And that was a period of, we had a great deal of discussion about that and essentially why they need that, how to make comments to the council, things like that. That was our main discussion that took place. We're also looking at how to rejuvenate the membership in the foundation with the changes that have taken place with COVID and so on. We are continuing to try to build enthusiasm for members of Atherton to residents of Atherton to support the foundation so that we can try to continue to contribute to the beautification and improvement of the park. So that's basically the way the discussion went at this point. We are also, Frank can add on this, we are also investigating, of course, the famous fountain, which the reason I changed the minutes to reflect the fact is there has been actually no decision on that at the foundation because it's unclear how much money would have to be invested to actually rehab that fountain. We'd like to keep the original if we could. It's got a lot of history there. And Frank has taken on himself to meet and look at what the options are there to try to put it together at somewhat lower price than the original quotes were. You may remember, unfortunately, I think this town on taking it down after it was damaged by somebody climbing on it, apparently increased the damage. So it sits over at the park ready for some work or discarding, I'm afraid, in the future. Frank, you want to add?
You're on mute. You're on mute, Frank. You're on mute, Frank.
Sorry about that. If anyone is available October 18th, I'm going to meet with Marion Oster at the Corporation Yard at 10:30. We're going to look at the fountain, and she's going to give me what she knows because she's had it looked at, and she's got some thoughts and some other things that may or may not be pertinent to the fountain itself. So if anyone's available, would like to come take a look at it. Sally, I need to get the keys that day. Well, wait, the question is, you're going to be in the new building or are you still going to be in the old building on the 18th?
We will still be in the park.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So then I can come to the office and get the key. Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay, good. All right.
That's at 10:30 on the 18th in the
10:30 on the 18th.
by the maintenance field back there.
No, it's in the Corporation Yard by the side of the carriage house.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I think I can be there for that too.
So.
Okay. If that wraps up the foundation report.
Yeah, the only other thing that Marion has asked in order to facilitate the use of, I believe it's called the bride's room. She's asked if the foundation could have installed some locks on the display cases that are in there so that we can start to display some of the, she's got some fabric and some dishes and some other things that belong to the Palmers. I have a number of things that once the display case is secure, I have a number of things I'll give to the park too. There's stuff that I've had here forever and tired of tripping over them. And I'll give them but I took them out 40 years ago because they weren't secure and they were walking away. And so I will put them back in after we get some. So she's asked if the foundation would install some locks. So we're going to take that on as a project.
Nice. Great.
That's it for me. Walt, you done?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, item 7B, the parks goings on reports.
So for the month of September, the Hammerhead project was started and completed. So at the end of the parking lot, there is a now Hammerhead turnaround.
I'd like to let you know that I tried it today. I purposely drove over and did the full turnaround. It's a little confusing on what it is. I know what it is since some of our meetings, but there's no signage or painting on the ground to show what to do, I guess.
Other than no parking.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there is the no parking, which is great. So you'll figure it out one way or another. My only comment on it is that the no parking signs are directly in the front and the back of where you're trying to pull into and back out of. And if they were about 5 feet further back, then no one will ever hit these poles. Unfortunately, our clientele, I don't know if backing up is their strong suite, and we might get some bent bumpers and poles. So we can wait until it gets hit, but I have a feeling that's going to happen eventually. So they're right in the middle, right where your bumper would hit. So that's my only comment on that, other than painting 2 arrows on the ground or putting something on in writing that says turnaround or something on there, so we know what it is. But it is very nice. It was a very full parking lot. There's a lot of construction going on today in the park, and there was very few parking spaces, so I did need it. So.
Yeah, so that was proposed when we had a lot of events and stuff wasn't in the park. So just a lot of parking issues and people weren't able to turn around.
Yep.
They are going to be striping it. It just hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
I did see a few people use it, so that's good. But yeah, I'll take your suggestions. Those are good. The lighting project has started. So I know I brought to you the design for the new lights. So all 14 of the park lights, the poles, and they're being turned into LED lights. That's happening right now. So they're digging the holes right now in all the locations. And luckily they did hit an irrigation line. So that took up 2 days of MCE's time to fix. But everything's up and running now. So that project should be done in the next few weeks. They do have to close out 2 parking spots per light pole. So it's going to cause a little bit of a parking issue, but that's for the safety of the vehicles, and they need space to work.
Mm-hmm.
Well, bravo getting that going. That's great.
Regarding that picnic area, real quick.
Yeah.
The temporary signage. Oh, maybe that's it. Actually, maybe I'm
That's the
talking.
turnaround. They've been planting some trees that we've had. Here's the picnic area.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at the tree. It's a gorgeous tree. Clearly, I can see what your concerns are. Is considering we're not going to take the tree down or put poles up anytime soon. Do you think we can come up with a better idea for the crime scene around it?
So I am meeting with a company. So as you know, these projects we don't just do projects like easily.
Totally. Yeah, totally understand. Yeah.
So I'm meeting with a fence company tomorrow morning to have them look at it. Give me a quote, give me some design options.
Cool.
So once I've reviewed that, I was going to bring it back to the Park and Rec.
Okay.
Your recommendation, but I will probably have to get a couple quotes on this as well. But at least I'm starting the process. So this is just temporary, and we all know that it looks ugly.
Okay.
If you have any suggestions on a temporary that looks better until we get a more of a decorative fence up, let me know.
Yeah, thank you. I just didn't know what the plan was, so that's.
But people kept moving the benches underneath it.
Yeah,
Ah,
They
Yeah.
didn't understand. And so
Yeah.
right.
at least this makes people understand that you shouldn't be in this area.
Well,
Yeah,
so
that
we were
definitely
also,
says that.
we were also thinking to accompany the crime scene tape is, maybe just a small sign that says, restoration project underway or something so that people understand, I don't think they'll go through the caution tape, but
All right.
that would help people understand why that's there in the meantime. So
Yeah.
that's one suggestion. And then could you just refresh my memory? Why is there a delay putting poles? You're the tree expert. Sally, the putting poles under the branches that are, part of the problem.
For me, the problem is that the tree could fall over, not the branches.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think everybody thinks branches. There's a Ganoderma conch at the bottom of the tree, which means the trunk and maybe some of the roots are decayed. So my main concern is that the tree could possibly fall over. So we wanted to get everybody that could possibly be underneath it away. So it wasn't even considered to use the support system for the tree. That's
Okay.
something we can look into, but it wasn't recommended. It was just recommended to close off the area.
I see. Okay. Okay. Well, yeah, thanks for looking into the fencing around it. It sounds like hopefully we can keep.
Yeah, it does
hopefully
look
we can keep-
ugly.
Yeah, hopefully we can keep the tree. I'd rather have a rope fence around it indefinitely than lose that tree. It's such a cool tree.
So
If you have a restoration sign accompanied a rope fence, you would hopefully not have people, ignore the fence, whatever
Yeah.
the fence is.
we can't put on a sign that the tree is dangerous, but we could say closed area, something about we're preserving this tree.
That would be good.
Yeah.
That's a great suggestion.
That's all I have for the park goings on.
Okay. Great. Moving on to 7C. Actually, real quick on 7B.
Yeah.
The lawns are looking amazing. I think MCE is doing a killer job, especially over by the water tower. It's actually perfect. It looks really, really good. So I just wanted to point that out. 7C park event bookings, October and September.
We just give you a monthly report of the upcoming booking, so you can review this, but this is the list of what's coming up in the park.
Okay.
It is the day use as well as rentals of the facilities.
Great.
So typically there's a big event on the weekends, and then we always get the picnic area and the other day use areas rented out usually on the weekends. The meeting in the carriage house on Sundays is going to start again. There's always a morning. We've always had a morning meeting there, but during COVID it stopped, so that will continue on Sunday mornings. There's now a theater class that rents out the carriage house, so that's kind of interesting and not something we've had. We've had dance classes in there, but not a theater class, so that's good.
Does the carriage house have heat, or does it
The
have heat?
carriage house has heat. The AC is not. The AC just broke.
Okay.
I did get a quote for $17,000, so I need to get another quote.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think AC. So
yeah.
we probably won't need AC much more anymore. But if people want to use the carriage house this winter, then yeah.
Something is always breaking on these facilities, so it's a constant struggle because we rent them out. We want to keep them going, but yeah.
Yep.
So if you get word about the AC not working, I'm working on it.
No problem. Great.
Yeah. And
Okay.
then here's the financial report. Is that what we're moving on to?
Yeah, go ahead with that.
So at the last meeting, Alex had a question that I said I would get back to him on.
And it's increased to 48% now.
So so under the park program, under the salaries and benefits, it's under 58.
Yeah.
Right here.
Yep.
So finance says is that the town paid the unfunded PERS liability in a lump sum at the beginning of fiscal year.
Oh, okay.
So at the beginning of the fiscal year, they paid just a large amount to PERS for that account. And so that's why it looks like it's at
It's excessive for the beginning,
50%.
but
Yeah.
yeah,
it's
but
at 50
it'll
yeah.
hit 100% at the end of the fiscal year, so it'll be about
Right.
even. Okay.
Okay.
That was a good question. So let me know if anybody has any questions on this.
Admittedly, I'm not much of a spreadsheet guy, but I'm looking through it, and I know our resident Alex will. He's our spreadsheet guy. So Alex, keep an eye on
I
it.
just look at when the numbers are big, and
Yeah.
and that so yeah, things like it's they have a percent of budget since we're a quarter away through the year.
Yeah.
Anything that's too far away from 25%, you kind of like say, well, why is that?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't see any. I mean, there's a few things a little bit over, but I probably wouldn't quibble about it too much.
Yeah. See, we need to get those class fees up. 0 right now.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Next area, 7D will be individual committee member comments. I have a general comment, actually. I joined this committee during COVID. I've only really met most people like this. There's no hallway talks. There's really very little background talk. I know people like Taylor are new. Walt's new to our team. If there's questions to be asked about why things are being done a certain way or not, it's definitely all open for discussion because we're a new committee. We've only met via Zoom, and background information, historical context of things is missing. So, please always feel free to comment, to ask questions, to bring things up, because there is no right or wrong way in this group. So just want to say that.
You want me to mention doing kind of a primer for new committee members?
Yeah, I think we talked about that a little bit today. I think that would be really, really great. I mean, even for ourselves and for anyone who's coming into our team. So,
And maybe something exists and I am unaware of it, so please speak up. But we were just talking about having something that summarizes, how the committee works in very broad, strokes, how the committee interacts with city council, how the foundation works and other, just to get a gist of things, and something that you could just provide to a new committee member for them to get a lay of the land.
Yeah.
Nothing complicated or extensive. And I'm more than happy to try to put something together, but I would obviously need a lot of input from those of you who have been around and know how everything is structured. And it was just something Matt and I discussed this morning. Does that seem like a good idea or a waste of time?
I would think it's a great idea. Rick, I know when I joined, Anthony helped me with the Brown Act. Does Anthony have any onboarding documentation for new committee members across the board for other committees?
Oh, yeah, it's a good question. There used to be a red binder that was provided. I don't think you probably ever got made aware of that, Sally. But initially you didn't have new members, but now you've got a few.
Right. Yeah.
You might see if Andy has that. I definitely know there was a red binder, and I think I probably still have what I have to look and see if I still have it, but when I was first on the committee, yeah, there was a binder that was provided.
Nice. Okay.
What did it have in that binder?
You know, the charter of the committee. I don't remember everything else that was in there.
It would be great to take a look at it, you know, and
But if it's
So-
outdated, at least it probably would have a lot of good info in it.
And I think it's a good idea to, if it's not generally available, to create one. And of course, to use a form that we've got from the past, rather than just trying to do it completely on our own.
exactly.
I
That would
will
be great. I'll follow up with you to see if you're able to locate yours, or if, as you said, there's somebody else I can contact to see if they might.
Yeah,
have
I
some-
would think Anthony might have access to one, because it would have been with the town staff. And Steve Tyler probably would have managed it in the past. Honestly, I don't remember who gave it to me, but I will look.
Okay,
I
great.
should have one too, so if I have it, I can make a copy. But I'll also ask Anthony to see if there is a new member binder that he is aware of since he started here. But I should have one of those new member binders when I started as the staff liaison, so I will get back to you.
Great. Yeah, I would love to take a look at it. Taylor will get one to you as well, so you can get some better onboarding.
Great.
And okay, any other comments from our committee members? Go for it, Alex.
So the council, when they renewed the tennis contract, they did it for just 2 years. And after the 2 years, they said, maybe we should consider a price adjustment, since we've kept it the same price for, I think, the last 7 years. And I think it's still going to be $40K for the next 2 years. And so that's quite a long time to keep the same price. And I probably something for the next fiscal year is taking a look at tennis pricing and making a recommendation to the council if they're still interested in looking at setting something more market rate. Although I hear good things from Michael, so I don't want to push the market rate too high on him. But
No, but
maybe-
it's a good point, Alex. And Michael was supportive of it. He wasn't opposed to it.
Okay, great. So it'd be a good time to look around and see what other places are charging, and maybe work with Michael in terms of, something where both the town and him can benefit in some different pricing structure beyond maybe a flat rate. But we'll see when we get there.
Well, I
Something
think
for next fiscal year.
one thing you ought to have in mind, though, is Michael's been very clear that the courts have not been supported well by the town. They've tried to patch them and whatever. They need, at least 2 of them, need a very substantial redo. So when we look at pricing by others, let's be sure to keep in mind that the others may be given, in Michael's position, some courts that are in much better shape than what we've essentially left him with.
That's true, but we are doing some kind of resurfacing that's costing quite a bit of money, come from the tennis fund. And I think all of the courts will eventually be resurfaced.
Well, resurfacing is not what he's talking about.
No,
Right,
it's
so-
more substantial. We've resurfaced in the past. I think this next effort's going to be more substantial than that.
Right.
Right, so,
There's water underneath. There's all kinds of problems that he can describe to you in detail.
yeah, so since I've started working here, we just resurfaced the courts, but resurfacing no longer works. So as we discussed last year, we're gonna start doing the overlay. The overlay will start on courts 1 and 2, which is much more expensive. It's almost $75,000 a court. So this will go out for a formal bid. Before, with the resurfacing, I could just get informal quotes. So this will be going to council, and it will be coming to Park and Rec. So just that is coming through the pipeline.
Okay.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Alex. Okay. There's any other comments?
I just, I know I'm not on the committee, but I had
Okay.
something to talk about. So just in the last week, I received an inquiry about a memorial bench in the park. And then I received another inquiry about a memorial tree. So in the past, Park and Rec was working on a donation policy for the park, and they never did a final draft. They worked on it for a few months, so I wanted to know if that was something if the committee was interested in taking up and finalizing, so that there is a clear donation policy, because right now it's whatever I decide.
That's the bad.
And I'd much rather have a clear donation policy so people know where to pay for something, or if it's something we're going to accept. People offer all kinds of things as donations, so it would be what we take and what you can pay for to have a memorial thing. It would be, I already have a basic document that they started working on, so if you want me to add that as an item at a future meeting, let me know.
Yeah, if you have interest from 2 people right now already, if you wouldn't mind sending it over to me, I'll take a look at it. And then we can add it as a discussion item or an agenda item actually for the next meeting to maybe just make some final decisions on it. So,
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it didn't get finalized only because of the transition in the committee.
okay,
Right.
it was during that time. Yeah, we should definitely have ways that if people want to pay for benches with a little tag on them that, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Sounds
Well, and
great.
also ease the pressure from Sally for having to make these
Yeah.
you know, arbitrary decisions, if you will.
Right.
Okay, well, I think we can move on to adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
How about, excuse me?
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Walt.
What does this say? Facilities walkthrough?
Oh, yeah, sorry, the next meeting, I missed over that part. Yeah, so next meeting, Sally, we're still meeting on Zoom per county guidelines?
It's through October. I'm not sure what's going to happen in November, but I will let the committee know. But
Okay.
we will definitely be meeting in person for the facilities walkthrough at 5 p.m. So
Okay,
facilities walkthrough is something that we do on an annual basis, and we walk through most of the facilities, or as many we can get through in an hour. We all take notes. Those notes are compiled to me, and then I see what we can do, and I prioritize them for the maintenance crew.
okay,
And that's usually done an hour earlier, right?
Yeah, so that will
Yeah,
be at
5
5
o'clock.
p.m. and we will be meeting at the main house stairs where the elevator is at 5 p.m.
okay, great. Well, that'll be fun.
We might go back to our houses and do Zoom, or we might be meeting in the main house. Because we have to have it recorded, we have to record it.
Yeah,
Might be meeting at the new facility. I'm not sure.
okay. Great, so we'll get in the carriage house and the main house, and we'll see all that inside.
Yeah.
I've been to the top of the water tower. I don't recommend that though.
We probably won't be doing that.
I don't think it would hold us.
Is this too scary up there?
It's being held together, I think, by some fungus.
Okay,
or
Matt,
something.
I was going to say, Matt made a great quote this morning. He thinks the water tower is being held up by mold.
So, okay, yeah, it'll be great to see everyone in person. Then next meeting, November 3rd, 5 o'clock, meet at the main house, correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, now section 9, adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Great. Thank you, everybody. It's always great.